What is up, everybody? It's your boy John here with Dallas.
Hello.
And you're probably saying to yourself, this doesn't look like a movie I recognize. And you're right.
I feel like there's a movie somewhere out there called this. I'll have to IMDb it.
Called what?
Operation 501?
C. You got to have that letter in there or the bureaucracy will kick your application back to you.
Probably.
No. So we are a part of the Geek Devotions Network. As you heard, the network dedicated to letting you know that you are loved.
True story.
And our benevolent dictators, Dallas and Celeste, are applying for a 5013C
501c3
QXPR.
You need to watch more Sesame Street.
I have a weird relationship with Mr. Hooper. Don't bring me back there. And we want to help them out because, you know, if there is no them, there is no us because we're kind of all intertwined. So we have an event coming up and they've recorded a little announcer Rooney for your guys' listening holes to tell you about what is it, 40-hour stream, 30-hour stream?
It's a 40-hour live stream on our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Geek Devotions.
So
that you're going to be part of.
I am going to be part of in multiple ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, give it a listen. Show up and support the event. Because again, if there is no them, there is no us.
We'll talk about that afterwards.
I am holding you hostage by your wallet. Show up for the fundraiser and give money, or we'll take the show away. No, I'm kidding.
So dramatic. Let's play the audio, and then we'll come back and talk about it on the back end.
All right.
So, for those of you who don't know, we're taking our next step with Geek Devotions. We, for 8 years, we've been operating this ministry and doing what we do. We've had some great opportunities.
Yeah, we have.
We've been able to help fundraisers. We've been able to collect things and give to kids. Yeah. We've been able to help send kids to camps. There are kids who are at risk or in the foster care system. We've been able to go to cons. We've been able to do several things over the years. Mm-hmm. And this is something we've been wanting to do for a couple years, and we're finally taking the step of faith, and we're going to work to get our 501c3 non-profit status.
Now, Dallas, why don't you tell us what that does for us?
So the non-profit status does a couple of things. Yes, there is the obvious. There's a tax burden that is taken care of for us for Geek Devotion stuff, but it also opens the doors for certain things. Mm-hmm. A great example is we had this idea of doing con survival bags, which they're bags that would have like deodorant. It would have maybe water, depends on the con if they allow you to do that. Yeah. It would have like needle and string for sewing kit for thread. I'm sorry. Thread.
String is a lot thicker.
But needle and thread for your cosplayers that have stuff. And just a couple of different things to encourage and to help people who are at the con. And we had several companies who were willing to donate the supplies to us. Yeah. But because we're not a nonprofit, they couldn't.
Yeah, because they legally can't just give stuff away.
Yeah. So it's going to open up doors for us to do stuff like that, plus some other stuff. Just flat out, there are people who they look at Geek Devotions and they look at us and they go, oh, you're doing a thing. But because we don't have an official thing, we don't have an LLC, we don't have a 501c3 or any of that stuff, they're like, oh, these are just some random people. So
I mean, we are random people.
We are very random people. But it legitimizes the ministry as a whole.
It does. In the eyes of people with other ministries, which in turn later on down the road could help us out. Mm-hmm. So we've said many times that we are willing to come speak at your churches, but some people just won't invite us not necessarily any of you, but people we have reached out to personally
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't necessarily invite us because it's this thing we're doing out of our house.
Right.
Like we see it as more, and as a result, we need to legitimize it in the eyes of the law.
Yeah. And that's the other aspect. There's some legal aspects that need to be taking place with what we're doing, how much we're bringing in as a team.
Yeah.
And some of the content we produce, it helps. It helps to protect our team.
Mhm.
It helps to protect other individuals. So that's we're being responsible with what we have. And that's the key
Trying to.
thing is we're trying to be responsible and hold things above board. So that's what we're doing. And so to do this though, to raise this fund, Celeste, what are we doing this weekend?
We are doing a 40-hour fundraising stream. Us and several friends whose communities are cool people, we like them, are going to be helping us, and we're going to stream for 40 straight hours.
Let's go
on our Twitch channel.
I'm excited about it. And like Celeste said, we have some amazing individuals who are going to be joining us. We have some people within our team itself. They're going to be taking part, doing different stuff. We have all of Playing Games with Strangers, which, by the way, if you do not listen to Playing Games with Strangers, which is an actual play D&D podcast, and if you are a D&D fan, but you don't like other podcasts because they're just foul, they're nasty, you need to check out Playing Games with Strangers. But they're going to be taking over a 4-hour block on Friday night.
Yep.
And doing their thing. And I know all of them personally at various degrees of levels of friendship. And I can honestly say this. I genuinely love every person on the team.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put this out there. One of my favorite parts about them is that they're good for you as my wife. Like, I'm glad to see my wife has good friends, people who encourage her, who challenge her, who walk her through some things if she needs it. This is a genuine community of individuals who are just absolutely just grade A people. They are some of my favorite people that I don't get to hang out with very often.
No, you don't.
And because I'm not a big D&D person personally.
No.
But I love them so much, and I appreciate their role in your life. And I'm excited to have them on the stream.
I am too. Especially like the people who aren't as active in our community aspects for D&D or for playing games. Like Josiah is super busy because he makes short films and he's on staff at his church and he has kids he has to do. So he's not super plugged in with the connecting with other people that watch our stuff. And it's just because he only has so many spoons.
Exactly.
But I'm excited that some of our community is going to get to know him because he's hysterical.
Oh my gosh, super talented. So also we have the Pastor Dustin, who I love dearly. He's a youth pastor out in I was about to say California, out in Texas, and great guy. He has a fantastic community. He streams on Twitch. He has a YouTube channel, Pastor Dustin, and he plays everything from Pokemon to Doom, and just fantastic guy, great sense of humor, and just a genuine. Everyone we bring into our stuff, they're genuine people. Like we try not to have people that are like, they're all flashy and stuff like that. These are real life, genuine people who love the Lord and who love people.
I think my favorite thing about Dustin is just how willing he is to do things
for the gospel.
He takes the "I will be more undignified than this" to heart. Last week, he and his wife, who is also an amazing person, even though she does not stream, she's super cool. They dressed up in inflatable shark suits because they raised like $600 for Speed the Light.
Let's go.
And so they were in front of their church dancing in inflatable suits. Apparently one of the local ice cream shops saw them and was like, "Here, you have to be hot." Gave them ice cream.
That is so cool.
So that's the level of people we're bringing in to help us do this.
Absolutely. We also have Drew from the Cellcast who's going to be doing it. He's doing a chill stream. He's looking at doing a chill stream where he's just building Gunpla.
Yeah.
He has a couple of Gunpla that he hasn't built yet. And so he's just going to chill and talk with people, love on them, and do that.
That's going to be good.
And again, Drew's from the Cellcast, which is another great podcast. Him and Jacob, they just guest hosted Geek Devotions.
They did
a great job talking about Incredibles 2, which was funny.
Oh, was it?
Well, it's just that they bookended
Yeah.
Pixar month for us.
They did. That's fun. I actually haven't watched that episode yet. I need to. I was doing things.
They did a great job. I encourage you guys to check that episode out. But they're just I love listening to them because you know they're friends.
Yeah.
They have such great chemistry together, and it's not like a manufactured thing.
Mm-mm.
You know, they're like, okay, you know, they're just buddies, and they have such a great time on the show talking about animated movies and TV shows and stuff like that, and they're hysterical to talk with, and genuinely love those two dudes a lot. And then we also have Francisco Ruiz, possibly Paul J. Powers for some of it. We're not sure yet, but Francisco from Retro Rewind Podcast, who you guys know a lot about him. We rob most of our stuff from him.
He corrects our grammar. Which we appreciate.
And I'd go, okay, cool. And then I go, oh, wow, you're doing this with your stream? Let me copy that. Oh, you're doing this with your podcast? Let me copy that.
How'd you do this?
Okay, thank you, Francisco Ruiz. And so this podcast brought to you by Francisco Ruiz and
Paul J. Powers.
and PaulJPowers.com. So, but he's going to be streaming for us also. And love Francisco. In fact, I was just watching a stream just now.
Yeah.
And like I said, everyone who's becoming part of the team are just genuinely good people that just love folks. They want you to know you're loved. They want you to know you're cared for. And there's a couple other people who are looking to join the team. I don't want to see names yet because I don't want to put it out there, but they're
them not be able to.
Yeah, so I wanted them to, I don't want to pressure them. So they're looking at their schedules right now. But our whole thing about Geek Devotions, we have one mission. You guys hear us say it every time. What is it, Celeste?
To let people know that they're loved.
Yeah. And, we tell people you're loved, you're cared for, there's a plan and purpose for your life. And every person that's on this team, that's their mission too.
Yeah.
In some fashion. The way they do it. They may not be as explicit as us with certain things, but everything they do is a outgrowth of the relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, I've been in 1 John.
Yeah.
And 1 John is kind of the handbook of love, if you will.
That's a good way to put that.
In some portions of it. And I was talking with some folks the other day about it. And, we're told to follow God's commandments and to love our brothers, love people. And it sounds like, for some people, make it sound like, these are commands, you got to do these things.
Yeah.
But it's not just that you have to do these. These are the natural outgrowth of our relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
And these individuals who are bringing the team, they love you and they care about you because it's the natural outgrowth of being with the Father.
Yeah. Who
genuinely loves you, genuinely cares about you, and wants you to have freedom. And so, yes, we're going to be streaming. Yes, we hope you give money. But if you come be part of these streams, we hope you walk away knowing that you're loved and you're cared for.
Yeah.
And every individual who's on the stream genuinely loves and cares about you.
And for those of you who go, well, I just don't have the budget for that. A, we understand.
Totally.
We totally get it. B, just hanging out in the stream, helping entertain the streamer.
Mm-hmm.
Not that our games aren't entertaining, but there's an aspect of streaming. If there's nobody interacting in the chat,
it gets rough.
It gets really hard to constantly remember to vocalize and not get zoned into the game. So just you being there, if you can't support financially, support with your time.
Yeah.
Share the stream out. Maybe some of your friends can afford to support financially.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you can't help just because you don't have money if you don't.
Exactly. So that's what we got coming down. And also be praying for us, guys. Be praying for our team as they prepare, because it's a lot going on with it. It's mentally taxing to plan this out and be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
We're a bit anxious. This is a step of faith for us.
It is. And let's be real. Anytime we deal with large amounts of money, you and I get a little bit anxious.
This is true.
And it's not that we don't trust God.
Mm-hmm.
It's that we're scared people are going to think that we're just out here going, give me money.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. That's not our heart. Legitimately, if we had this money in our bank account, we would drop it and nobody would know.
Exactly.
Like it would just be there. But we don't. We're not independently wealthy.
Exactly. And it is an expensive process.
It is.
There are lawyers involved. There are certain things that have to be done. The company that we're using to get this done, they specialize in ministries.
Yeah.
And they're going to make sure there's no stone unturned. Everything will be completely legal Everything will be completely protected. And they're also supplying us with some resources so we can continue to do what we need to do appropriately and make things better.
Because this is the start of something, but because it's the start of something also means that there's going to be some responsibilities and some things that we're going to have to do on the back end.
Exactly.
Once we get our 501c3, that's not the end of things.
Right.
It's the beginning.
It's the beginning of a lot of things. So, but yeah, so that's the big news. That's the big thing that's coming up for us, the big step. And so for more information about it, visit our website, geekdevotions.com. And at the top of the page, there's a thing that says Operation 501. Click on that. It has all the information and a giving button at the bottom of the page for you to give to the operation. The campaign only lasts for 28 days, which started a couple days ago, actually. Yeah. So I think it's like February 28th is when, not February 28th, July 28th is when the campaign officially ends.
You had me so concerned. I'm like, that is longer than 28 days.
No, I apologize. But July 28th, I believe, is the last day that for the campaign itself.
Mm-hmm. So probably after GeekCon, we will have our official stuff, or at least have started the process.
Yeah, it's still going to be a couple months after we start the process. Yeah. But yeah, and actually, praise report, we already had $20 have been donated.
We do. Woo-hoo!
So thank you so much to that donor. We appreciate them. So let's what else do we want to talk about?
Why don't we go to a quick break real fast?
Okay. All right, and we are back. I should play our viewing room audio from the bottom shelf for that whole segment. What horrors will they experience? Well,
I don't know that would be conducive to a positive enforcement of the message you're trying to send. But.
Probably not. So the bottom shelf, because I want to hit this real quick, because you kind of said like it wouldn't exist without Geek Devotions, and because we're kind of symbiotic in a lot of ways. The bottom shelf, I want to put this out there. John came to me about this amazing idea for the bottom shelf of reviewing movies, terrible movies, something I want to do for years anyways. And but we have it's under the umbrella Geek Devotions, but it's for one particular mission, which is we're devoted to letting people know that they're loved. So John, if you could real quick, why did you want to do this under Geek Devotions? Like why is that part of the mission of Geek Devotions for you?
I've given a lot of different answers to that. Especially when you guys were milling over my, like, seriously, y'all, they have like an application process you got to go through to get a podcast on Geek Devotions. And one of the core questions on there is, how is this relevant to the core mission? Because we're not interested in just doing stuff and then saying this is our mission. Like, if it doesn't align, then, it may be a good idea, but that's not what we're doing here. So it's a real thing. People want to throw fingers around and be like, John's just got a bunch of shows on there because he's friends with Celeste because of playing games. It's just like, nah, like there's a process. But ultimately, why did I want to bring it to Geek Devotions? And it's you guys support an ideal that I think is really missing both in the church and in geek culture, where it's just like, come in, you are loved. You may be a sinner. Okay, we can talk about that, but you're still loved.
Yeah.
And we don't want you to come into a place where where you can feel like you have to justify why you are the way you are, or you feel like you have to be ashamed of liking these things. And so that's kind of why I wanted to bring it to Geek Devotions, and it kind of aligned with that whole wanting to have a space where people could just get together and talk about stupid crap and have hot take ideas and not be shamed for it.
Right. Well, mostly not shamed for it.
Well, depends who the co-host is that day.
You were not happy about the rating for the Phantom.
Whatever. but ultimately it also kind of was a thing I wanted to do, where it's just like I seen Ben Avery, my personal podcasting hero, do a video thing a couple times that was called Weak Connections. Like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I want to show people how to find, despite the fact that whatever you're watching, whatever media you're consuming, we do movies here, but you know, you can do it in video games or music or whatever, is you can always find a context for God in what you're doing.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and so I wanted to be able to show people how to do that. And you can find, you know, it's kind of like what Paul was talking about in Romans, when he's just like, you can find God even in just the authorship of his creation. And it's just like, it's a fun way to kind of show people that.
Yeah.
And even in the geek culture, that's just like, I don't know, I'm rambling.
That's good stuff. I mean, it just highlights. I mean, and this is why we started Geek Devotions to begin with. Ben Avery was actually, when we first started Geek Devotions, I looked at Ben's stuff, and I pulled some elements from him for what we do as Geek Devotions as a whole. But like, that's why we do like Geek Devotions, the overall umbrella. But here we have the bottom shelf. That's part of the ministry. And so helping us get our 501c3 helps us do other things with the bottom shelf, with the Gundam Watch, which will be coming back soon, with We Read Allegedly, and all the other podcasts John does for us.
I do a lot, yo.
So, but we do this because, for exactly what you said, we want people to know they're loved, they're cared for. You know, not everyone who watches our show or this show may be a Christian, may be a believer, but they know that they're loved, that they're cared for, and that we just don't care like who they are. We want you to know that Jesus loves you. And if we can reflect that, we can. And we're going to talk about geeky stuff. We're going to talk about stupid movies that nobody cares about except for one or two people. And it's because we love you. So, but yeah. So, hey, 40-hour live stream starts Friday morning at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/Geek Devotions and ends at 8 p.m. on Saturday. We're looking to raise $6,000. Now the campaign goes until July 28th, but we're kickstarting it this Friday, and we hope you guys hang out. John's going to be there with Playing Games with Strangers, and you're working on a few other projects for it too, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of talking to my homeboy Dave, who I do occasional segments called Casual Gamer Society with, kind of talking to him about wanting to do a bad advice call-in show. Figure out how to do that. There may, I mean, I'm leaving it as a possibility.
Right.
There may be a bottom shelf done live.
Nice.
Yeah, basically, like, whatever I do on here, I want to do live. Let you guys see how the sausage is made.
Right.
So
it gets nasty sometimes, but
it means we're gonna have to mind our P's and Q's, and because we're not gonna be able to cut out all the swears that we do in real life.
All the swears. We're foul-mouthed individuals. What?
All the swears and the boozing that we do on camera.
Lord. Oh my gosh. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this audio. We hope it has encouraged you in some fashion. And we hope to see you this weekend. So until next time, stay devoted. Peace and love.